Hello, I'm Megan, and I read the book The Poet X with my partner Lane, and I'm going to start off by just giving you a general summary of the book before we dive into the details. So, the general summary of this book is Samara is a sophomore in high school, living in the Harlem borough of New York City, and throughout the book, it's narrated from her perspective. So, she's the narrator, and she writes poems to describe the challenges she's going through. And gives us, the reader, a view into how she overcomes the obstacles. And her main struggle that she is facing is her relationship with her mother, as they disagree greatly on a vast variety of issues, but particularly the religious beliefs that her mother has. Her mother's a very strict Catholic, and Samara is not necessarily on board with that. So that is the main premise of the story.
So for our book, The Poet X, the setting first, like time wise, it takes place pretty current. Um, it talks about in the book rappers like J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar. So time wise, it's probably pretty present to today. The book was published in 2018. So I would imagine that the time, like setting wise, is close to that. Now, geographically, the story takes place, or X lives, the main character of our story, X lives in a neighborhood in Harlem, which is in New York. The neighborhood isn't very nice. It's not really a great place for kids to be growing up. It talks a lot about there being drug dealers in the neighborhood. But then X herself talks about how when she walks outside, she's consistently getting catcalled and really can't go anywhere without, people commenting on her or commenting on her body, things that kids shouldn't really be having to go through.
So next, I'm going to discuss with you some of the challenges, specific challenges that Samara faced throughout the book. So she's facing lots of challenges. For the example, her dysfunctional relationship with her family. While her mother is the main person she has tension with, it's kind of the whole family that she's struggling with her relationship right now. And so the challenges is her dysfunctional relationship with her family, particularly the tension with her mother, especially when it comes to their disagreement on religion. It's very hard because her mother's making her go to confirmation class and do all these traditional Catholic things, while Samara is not necessarily falling into those rules and things that her mother believes she should do, and Samara is just trying to live her own life independently. So that's one of the main challenges she is facing. And she also is facing a challenge of poverty. She's clearly living in inner city New York, so there's not as many resources as some other people in the world might have. And she's also still has to share a room with her twin brother in a two-bedroom apartment, which I can only imagine the challenges that might bring up, especially for a young girl, especially going through high school. It would be a very difficult thing to face. So those are the main challenges that Samara is facing throughout the story.
So X's nature really differs from what her mom wants her to be. Now, her mom is a super religious person, and she had planned on becoming a nun, but her family made her marry X's father so that she could come to the United States. Um, but she still has the passion for religion and still wants X to be just as religious. And so she kind of pushes that on X. Like she makes X get confirmed. She makes her go to church every Sunday, that type of thing. But X really doesn't care for religion, definitely not to the extent that her mom does. Uh, X is more concerned with, during the book, she's concerned with her boyfriend and rap music and her poems. Now, her poems, like in the book, are a big thing for her. That's how she really expresses herself because at home she's not allowed to. Her mom basically, unless it fits into her mom's like mold she has for X, she doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to see it. So X really isn't allowed to express herself personally. So that's what she does in her poems in her journal. So what she really needs is a way she can express herself because it's so hardly suppressed at home. Really, I think if you let X express herself, she'd be able to flourish in a learning environment.
All right, so while she definitely has some challenges and is going through some difficult things, Samara does definitely have some great things that she would bring to a classroom. And this is an important thing to focus on for anyone. The important thing is to focus on the good things that they bring to a classroom, because everybody can bring amazing things to a classroom. So the biggest thing that she would bring academically would be her strength as a writer. She's an amazing writer. We see this throughout the book is because she is the narrator, so she writes these really moving poems to describe the challenges that she's facing as a teenager growing up in New York with her dysfunctional family, and it's very powerful and meaningful. So that is definitely something that she would bring to the classroom academically. However, it's not just the academic things that we need to focus on, and I think that Samara, she would also bring her strong personality, and that would be a great thing. She's stands up for herself, knows what she wants, and I think that would be a great thing she could bring to the classroom too, as she would be able to speak up and let others know what she wants in most situations. And just having a strong personality is a great thing that I think could help her through any sort of academic situation that we might run into in a classroom or non-academic situation. And that would help her as well as her writing would really help her blossom in any classroom environment.
For adapting to X in the classroom, kind of like I talked about in her needs in nature, I would try to give her something, if we could, poetry, that would be really good because obviously that's something she shows interest for, but really just anywhere where she can express herself and show who she really is, because obviously that is something that she really wants to do and in her journals tries to do. Now, also as a teaching style, I would try to show her compassion. That's obviously not something she gets at home, and I feel like if you showed her some compassion, uh, she'd really appreciate it because that's not something she'd get usually at home.
Now, we know that Samara has an interesting situation, a unique situation that she's in, that is. And it's important as educators that we know how to adapt to students that are in different situations different than we grew up in, or just things that might be challenging to address as an educator, things that might bring them challenges within the classroom setting. So, as an educator, if I ended up with Samara in my class, I think that kindness and compassion would be a big thing. She doesn't receive a lot of that at home. So, making sure that I try to understand her situation, show her kindness, and be as gentle as possible, because I think that would be the key to unlocking her potential. Because throughout the book, she shows that she clearly has some amazing skills that I would want to bring out in her as an educator. But with her relationship with her mother, her poverty, that can be really difficult. So just being kind and compassionate and recognizing that she might also have some trauma, which is unfortunate, but we see in the book, with especially the way her mother treats her, that trauma is a very possible part of her story. So being aware of that and knowing that you have to be more gentle and recognizing her and her for the person she is, because she doesn't get that at home. She's not getting the praise, compassion, kindness at home that most of us are used to. So I think if I was an educator and I had Samoa in my classroom, I would definitely make that my priority rather than the academic stuff, because she deserves the world, and just like every child does. And it's unfortunate that this character wasn't getting that at home, but as an educator, that's how I would adapt. I would make sure that I am treating her with kindness and compassion and being gentle and being sensitive to possible trauma, and just making that my priority instead of the academic stuff, because that is definitely what this character needs at this moment.